big month here at Barstool, Chicago. Huge month.
Why is it a big month?
Well, I mean, Miller Lite and happy hours that are running through August 23rd, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, summer is all about outdoor cookouts and backyard get-togethers, which means plenty of time with Miller Lite.
And we know that the days of summer are coming to
We were
an
talking
end.
about that this morning.
They are.
He was lamenting about it. I was complaining about the weather, and he's like, what'd you say? We're on the precipice of winter. I'm like,
No,
it's August. What are you talking about?
But
We're
the
on
night is darkest just before the dawn. The heat is hottest just before the fall comes.
I can't wait. And that, those tailgate beers, Miller Lite, the Bears, it's gonna be fucking great. I can't wait for that. But before summer closes, they are doing all these happy hours.
We gotta go out with a bang.
Have to. Hot dogs, Vienna beef, Miller Lite. They go together perfectly. We're doing it in the summer. You can do it in the fall. Miller Lite's great year round.
When we talk about sponsors on Redline Radio, we are often giving you promo codes, links. We're directing you in raising awareness. Not now, my friends. We are inviting you. We are encouraging you to take action. Go get on a Miller Lite sailboat. Go have some fun at a happy hour. Go drink some beers with your friends. Make it count.
Yeah, like these happy hours are happening everywhere, and there's stuff in it for you. There's free hot dogs. So that's pretty unbelievable. And it's all over the place. It's in a bunch of suburbs and whatnot. So make sure you go check it out. They're giving away concert tickets. They're giving away koozies, pint glasses, and most importantly, stain-resistant shirts.
That's big for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge. So people can eat their hot dogs freely without worrying about mustard stains. So head on out. Fans can visit MillerLite.com/Chicago Style to learn more about the event details and retailer information. First 500 guests will receive free Vienna beef Chicago Style hot dogs. So yeah, go check that out. The events are through August 23rd. Next time you're also getting ready to enjoy cold ones with your crew, go to MillerLite.com/Redline to find the delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
That was a great ad read, Ed.
It was strong by everybody. Everyone did a good job.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is Barstool Carl.
And what's
Chief.
Eddie.
This is Redline Radio and All Gas No Break Chicago Sports Podcast, brought to you by Barstool Sports Chicago and Miller Lite. And off the top, I got to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. Thank you. We've been pushing this for how long now? Just come on, subscribe to YouTube.
You see the PMT part of my cheesesteaks on our desk as well. Shout out to them. Go check that out. Uber Eats, Grubhub, every delivery app.
You gonna have a bite, Ed?
I'm good right now. I'm
gonna have
focused
one
on the
bite.
show.
Do the review right now, Dave.
Oh, good. Yeah, give us a review.
All right, I got a cheesesteak here, just plain cheesesteak, no chipotle aioli, nothing like that. I like how they cut it right there.
Oh, that is a nice cut.
The diagonal.
Jim
That
Graziano
looks
told me
pretty
that.
good. Yeah.
No, he's gonna do one.
I'll do a bite.
There you go.
Do a ringing endorsement.
Pardon
from
my
Chief there.
cheesesteak. Go get it. Uber
That's a
Eats.
really
And I'm kind of a big critic of delivery food in general. This actually looked pretty appetizing to me.
For now, the duality between Redline and a snake draft, because now he's a food critic. We bring up food on snake draft, so he ain't no critic.
Sure I am. I have a more sophisticated palate than anybody at this table. That's part of the problem.
We
You
got a
guys are
draft.
like, I'm saying let's have burrata, like a hot, a nice cheese, nice soft cheese, a little sophisticated palate. And you guys are like, no, let's spray Cheese Whiz in our mouth.
We got a draft coming Monday that you guys are going to be like, you're the dumbest food guys ever. Just the way that we're describing everything and probably getting things wrong, which is really funny.
Yeah.
On brand.
Yeah.
On brand.
I also want to say, too, we're getting some tweets about the 47.5
Yeah.
thousand subscribers about releasing the Dave picture. And if you've been listening, Dave has said this a couple times that we're not releasing the picture because of natural growth. And I agree with him.
Too little, too late.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I do agree,
I
unfortunately.
feel like we would have had to have it within a week.
Yeah, like I would love to give the fans what they want in that picture. Like, when Chiefs talked about it, it's a funny
Have you
picture.
seen the picture?
Yeah, it's funny. It's and I think people would enjoy it.
People would enjoy it, but I don't think.
Dave, don't discourage people from subscribing.
If we were going to do a White Sox Dave calendar of all your best pictures, it would for sure be in April.
I don't.
month.
You think so?
April?
I don't know if it's that good.
I think
don't think
it's
it's
top
that good.
5 on.
There's
Really?
probably only
Whoa, is
5.
April the best month?
Dave, no, I just meant like a top 5 Dave picture.
Okay.
So I just put it. I front loaded it. It's definitely April's definitely not a top 5 month.
What gets the number one picture on the Dave calendar? Then what month do you think? Is it
The
is Soxtober get it?
March is his favorite. So March.
March, April are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, what do you mean April?
June, July, August, May.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much August. August, I get the end of summer blues big time. But I don't think it's all that great of a picture. I'm just stupid fucked up, and the camera caught me at like a weird.
It brings a smile to my face.
So
I
if we
think
get to 50,000 before the Bears' first game, is the picture
When's
now?
the first game?
You know that. It's
September
you're
first
professional.
weekend. Or
No.
After Labor Day,
Yeah.
first weekend after Labor Day.
I'll think about it. But they blew their chance. It's not on me. Don't bitch at me.
Yeah, the
Bitch
call
it.
to act. Also, we should have given you a finite timeline. We fucked that up, but at the same time, like it just took too long.
we're
get
knocking
there.
on the door of 50,000 though. I
Yeah.
think that's pretty good.
We can
Yeah.
run it back again. Let's give it a timeline.
Yeah. What are you interested in that, Dave? Run it back.
Probably not.
Okay. What
5
if
business
what if
days.
something super impressive like we get 50,000 by Sunday?
By our next
Or
episode.
by our next episode.
Be a team guy. Dave.
I'll consider it. We'll see. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll see.
So speaking of considerations, Dave, that's in line with leadership. Your leadership is always considering stuff. The way Rick Hahn is able to consider moves, nobody throws his hat in the ring
Yeah. It's
like
it
Rick
was,
Hahn on the White Sox.
So I watched
He's
the
the
presser.
king of we tried our best.
Like we
Yeah, it's-
we had
it's-
our
it's
scouts
fuck-
look at Juan Soto. He's a good player. We liked his fit on this team, and we made a run.
Otani.
Otani's a good player too. He
Like,
fits
what
the White
the-
Sox roster. He's a guy who can help with pitching depth. He's obviously
What
a productive bat.
was the point of anybody tweeting that out or giving it to, it was Nightingale, I believe, giving it to him to tweet out? Like, that doesn't make you guys look better.
I don't think they were putting it out to make him look better. I think that was someone. I think that's the complete opposite at this point.
You think so?
Yes.
Why would they do that then?
I don't
Of
know. I think there's
sabotage?
You think Hahn is going to be like, yeah, has Hahn made a statement about their trade deadline activity? Was
He,
he on this morning?
he had a long presser before the game yesterday.
They played at 6.
They played it at 7.
But then this thing came out later, though. I don't think he was. Was it
What thing came out later?
that the White Sox made a run at Juan Soto?
I know what the offer was for Juan Soto, and it was it would have been it would have completely toppled the Chris Sale return for the Nationals.
How
that
does it
is.
compare to what the Padres?
Not enough, but I mean,
Can you say it or no?
No, I'm not going to say it. It would have been one of the biggest returns in Major League Baseball history. They didn't swing it. Do I like that they gave it a shot? And if it would have gone down, it would have absolutely, without question, helped this current team. And I don't think it would have sacrificed too much from the future. And there was nothing more that they could have done with what they have in prospect equity in the farm system and at the Major League roster, where they could have outdone San Diego. But that's a problem in and of itself. I saw the trade. I mean, I know what it was. And I commend them for throwing that out there, because it wasn't just a half-ass offer.
Was Eloy or Lewis Robert in it?
No, neither of them. And that's all I'm going to say. So quit asking more questions, because I'm not going to answer them. But
You tell me later.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
All right.
It wasn't good enough that when I knew it wasn't going to be, because of who they were attempting to trade for, and the same goes for Otani. But people are like, oh, the seat at the table jokes. Those jokes are so played out, first of all, and second of all, you're checking in as GM on 90% of the league to get better when you're in a championship window. So, of course, when
You threw air quotes on that. I just want to let the people know, because
No,
I feel
I know.
like you're.
well, that's their words, not mine.
I know, but I feel like you're as down about this team as
Why
I've
shouldn't
ever,
I be?
I agree with you, but I just want people. I don't know if that was conveyed in your voice, so I want people to know that you're mocking the championship window. Talk.
I am. They have, and I wrote a long blog on it yesterday. It all goes back to last offseason, where they ended the offseason addressing the needs that they had, meaning left-handed power, someone who can rake against righties, and a second baseman, and starting pitching depth. They started the offseason by giving Lurie Garcia a 3-year deal. For what reason? I don't know. No one in baseball was giving him a 1-year deal at the major league level, let alone a 3-year deal, so that's burnt money. Then they went out and signed Vince Velasquez, Josh Harrison. They traded for A.J. Pollock, and then they signed Joe Kelly, who was hurt. and Kendall Graveman, who's been fine, other than a couple stinkers out there, which is any reliever, but it is what it is. They didn't address their needs, and they, with the addition of the extra playoff teams and all of that, they were in a position where, due to their lack of prospect depth in their minors, they weren't able to add, and they've reaped what they have sown instead of just spending money to make the team better over the winter, which they didn't do. They were left with their dick in the hands at the trade deadline. And that's all there is to it.
You seem demoralized.
I'm completely demoralized. This was supposed to be the best year in the organization's history, assuming, I mean, I'm not assuming a World Series or anything, but like the best chance at a World Series that's not a lightning in the bottle World Series like 2005 was ever.
What is your?
It seems like they feel content with where they are.
I watched,
organization, like the building's kind of, the good attendance,
the attendance is better than it was last year. I'm pretty sure.
That's what I mean.
But
like they don't care. Like, why would we care?
Two things on that. There was the quote that Jerry Reinsdorf gave to David Sampson, who used to be an exec for the Marlins. Noted scumbag. He's had his issues off the field per se, from what I understand, financial issues. Kind of like what's his name, the Mets owner, Steve Cohen. And he said that the best advice or not the best advice, but advice that he got when he was an executive for the Marlins was from Jerry Reinsdorf saying, always do your best to finish in second place, because that way the organization, the fans want more, and they are addicted to the organization, but always leave that carrot dangling. And I was told by the organization it was all bullshit, but at this time it really seems like that, because they had a great opportunity over the winter to address the needs they needed to address via free agency, and they didn't do it. And then you fast forward to this and look where they're a game over 500 fighting with the Twins and the Guardians, who both have significantly smaller payrolls and significantly smaller markets for a playoff spot. And it's not how it should be. And as much as I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt that quote from Jerry Reinsdorf is total bullshit, I don't know if I can anymore, because it feels like that's all they're allowed to do.
Well, they're a game out of their stated goals, according to Jerry Reinsdorf. A game away from second place.
Is there like you say like spend money in the offseason, and that's a valid thing you guys didn't. But there are pieces that you guys have spent money on that aren't performing. Like Lance Lynn got an extension you didn't need to. You did extend him because he's pitching well, and he really just like came in with such dominance and assertion last year. And then you extend him, and he's hurt, banged up, struggle a little bit. Like that obviously hurts. Moncada's so fucking bad.
He's a fucking loser.
Like for context, Moncada's slugging percentage this year is .324. Jason Hayward's career slugging as a Cub is .377. Wow. He's 20% weaker than Hayward is. And Hayward's arguably the most difficult Cub hitter to watch.
Okay, you made your point. My point is this, is that if you are going to extend all these guys that you think are going to be studs, like Eloy, Robert, dating back to Chris Sale and Jose Quintana, it's worked a bunch of times in their favor where the player outperforms that deal. And I've said this before. Those deals are rarely not rarely, but when they're signed. When those deals start in year one, they're always player-friendly deals, because they're making way more money than they would be going through 3 pre-arb years in the standard arbitration process. It's if you happen to get that superstar like at Chris Sale, where you get those 2 option years, the team option years, where you're paying them, what was Chris Sale, probably 10 or 12 million back at the time. When he's performing like a $25 million, $30 million pitcher, that's when it's like, oh, dude, these guys are on the best team-friendly deals ever. It's not the case. You're rolling the dice and gambling on those deals when you make them. Yoel Moncada, he hasn't panned out. He's regressed so fucking bad. I can't stand watching him swing a bat or do anything other than field. He's great defensively, but I don't give a shit about that. He needs to be a star, not a fucking Yolmer Sanchez type player. And then Eloy Jimenez, who's been great for the last probably 10 or so games. He's just pissing all over the ball, but he's constantly injured. If those don't pan out, those guys become expensive. Yoel Moncada's making $25 million next year, I want to say. or the year after that?
24 next year, 25 year after.
Okay, so he's making almost $50 million the next 2 years. You got to hedge against that and say, hey, if these guys don't pan out, then we got to use financial might and resources to go and put better players around them. And this winter, they said they were tapped out financially, which makes no sense to me, considering they didn't have a fucking $10 payroll for years before that. So it's like, what are we talking about here? So, as always, I put the majority of the blame on Jerry Reinsdorf, but at the same time, they have a top 5 or 6 or 7 payroll or whatever it is right now. They are almost spending $200 million. You got to shape your roster better than it's shaped because it's completely flawed roster. Too many squares into round holes. Too many circles into square holes. All that shit. And it is what it is. I still think they're going to win the division probably, but this isn't what they're playing for. Not to win 85 games and win a dog shit division. And
you think or you hope? Like you think they're going to win it?
Yeah, I think they're going to win it. I mean, they got another 15 games against just pathetic teams coming up, and they should win a healthy majority of them. But I don't know,
there
we'll
is
see.
room for you to be more disappointed.
I mean, I don't care if they make the playoffs. They're going to get their tits blown off their chest by whoever they play. So
So you're not hopeful that they figure it out?
How do you say that with Dylan Cease doing what he's doing right now? AL pitcher of the month, July.
Real quick, though, actually, think about that, Dave. You said the word tapped out. If you're tapped out of your ADHD medication and it's a total headache to get, it's time to switch to Innovative ADHD. Innovative is a real medical clinic, not one of those online-only refill services. They are based here in Chicago, and they are real medical providers you can trust. You'll definitely want to use them for ADHD management, but you can also turn to Innovative for other things related to primary care or urgent care. Nobody has time for extra doctor visits. Simplify your ADHD management with Innovative. After your initial appointments, you can see your provider virtually through telemedicine. Telemedicine visits save you time. Get online, get your medication refill, and get back to your life. Innovative ADHD also accepts insurance for evaluations and medication refills. A lot of places don't do this, so that's what makes Innovative stand out. And finally, ADHD care is done with dignity and compassion. Innovative ADHD providers are compassionate and kind. They also remove the frustration from ADHD management. It's actually easy to get appointments and refills with Innovative ADHD. Go to innovativeadd.com to sign up. It's innovativeadd.com. You must be a resident of Illinois, and one more time, they do take insurance. Anything about that? If you have Dylan Cease, Dave?
yeah, I mean, if you have a star like Cease has become, then you have a shot. But the offense stinks. Who's after him? All right, I'm looking at Lynn's numbers
just saying
right
Dylan
now.
Cease is like, don't like gloss over it. I mean, he's put up like a historic 12 start run here where they're like, nobody has ever done this. Nobody has gone 12 starts and given up. I think it was like no more than one earned run while like striking out double digits in most of it.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
a
crazy
freak.
shit.
He's
he
a
goes
freak,
without
but-
making the All-Star team, and then he's the American League Pitcher of the Month, which is a fucking unbelievable award to win.
Twice in a row. He did it in June too, but he hasn't done it against good teams yet. Every time he's faced the Yankees or the Astros, he's gotten shit on. So is there hesitation? Yeah. Do I think that he could shut down those lineups? Yeah, because he's that good. But I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. My whole point is this, is that like these were supposed to be the good years, the whole golden era of White Sox baseball, and it's not. They fucked it up. And I blame Jerry the most. I blame the players the second most. I blame the front office the third most. And then, like, everybody wants La Russa gone. Fucking fire him. AJ Hinch isn't magically making this roster more complete. They're still going to struggle against right-handed pitching. It doesn't matter who it is. It's still going to be... I mean, last night they had AJ Pollock in center field, Vaughn in left field, and Sheets in right field. That's a 35-year-old career corner outfielder playing center for you, and 2 first basemen / DHs that should not be stepping on a major league outfield. It's like they're
So why
not
do you think they're
athletic
going to win the division?
because the division's that bad. I mean, the Twins got way better. The Twins definitely got better. They got Melee. Who else did they get? They got
Lopez,
Lopez.
fucking shutdown closer from the Orioles.
Oh yeah, they got Lopez. Like they got better. So, but they got the hardest part of their schedule coming up. They like the White Sox and Twins schedules flipped. Sort of. So the Twins had a super easy first half and then a much more difficult second half. That's why you see them. They're not playing good baseball right now. They got the Astros coming up. I know the White Sox do too, but The rest of it's the Twins and Indians. They're like the White Sox have by far and away the easiest schedule out of the three of them. That's what gives me hope, and hope that some of these guys happen to dig deep into their pantaloons and find a nutsack and play like they should be playing. And they haven't done that yet. Eloy, I should take back. He's been great. Abreu's been awesome 90% of the year, but these guys got to be better. It goes for Lucas Giolito. I'm looking at Lance Lynn stats. A lot tells me that positive regression is going to be going down. His home run per fastball rate is almost double what his career rate is. His BABIP is 70 points higher than his career rate, and his strikeouts per nine are just down a hair. His fastball velocity is down a hair. So I'm hoping that you see some positive trending out of him. Kopech looked great, but like 2 nights ago, but it's sad. It's sad. They fucked this up, and with what went down last winter and the reasoning behind it, and what I assume was the reasoning behind this deadline, not getting someone of actual significance aside from Jake Diekman, which I did like that pickup. He's got nasty shit, but I have a feeling it's going to be the same fucking thing next year too, because all these guys are getting more expensive. They're not going to have any wiggle room with payroll, yada, yada, yada. So they reap what they sow. And I watched Han's presser yesterday. He is dejected as I've ever seen him. Bags under his eyes. He was kind of apologetic, saying, hey, this has been an abject failure from front office, from the players, from everybody. Like we have not performed up to what our standards should be. And he also said that they've lost their swag, which they definitely have. 2 years prior, this was a really fun team to root for. It was young, energetic, a lot of really good personalities, and it's not like that anymore.
It's like the teenager you're hopeful for versus, hey, now you're 20 years old, you're 23 years old, and you're acting like a shithead still. Like, it's not cute anymore to be like just fucking around in the middle. Like, they have to like mature into like that championship team that you've been waiting for fucking years.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Feels like it's not.
Feels the same way to me. Feels like it's not. So I don't know.
I'm enjoying it, to be honest with you, because you guys talk so much shit about the way the Cubs were like falling.
That's fine.
Like, I just last trade deadline, just how many White Sox fans are in my mentions, and just that general tone and vibe. Like, yeah, we get the playoffs. He's going to the playoff game, and I mean, there's been so much shit talking in the city about how good the White Sox are going to be, and there's a lot of people that you guys are third place right now.
It was warranted shit talk though. Like they were trending as much upward as much as any team in baseball. And
they were.
If you, I mean, and the fans are echoing what the organization is telling us, but you watch some of these guys and you see how tooled up a handful of them are, and you're like, these guys are going to be fucking stars. I think a lot of them did get paid too early and said, fuck it, I don't need to work anymore. I already got $100 million plus in the bank.
Who's on that list?
Yoel Moncada.
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are already super rich. Like,
he got paid already.
I've
he got
learned
paid like
that
$60 million.
There's a big gap in the personal motivation between league minimum and then once you get into your RBRs. Like, that's where the big gap is. He's like, once you get in the RBRs, I've made this point to like Jake a number of times about like, well, the trade deadline, these extensions. Like, dude, 99% of those guys, once they get paid, they're rich as fuck. They're already like, dude, I'm low. Their life has changed so drastically that the idea of dangling this, well, if you're really, really good, then you get the $100 million deal. There are guys that are obviously motivated by that, but that's not the sole purpose or point. So once you do pay those guys and you get them out of the league minimum and you get them out of the traditional like salary structure, you absolutely are not compromising, but risking compromise on personal motivation with these players.
Yeah, and I think that they do due diligence on who they're paying to make sure that complacency doesn't take place in the future once they do start making actual like fuck you money.
That's a hard thing to do due diligence on.
It's
like,
very hard.
Basically, like you would need, I think, like a clinical psychologist to be like, this guy's got the right stuff.
Like, it's like Giolito is one of those guys where he's from life-changing money. He probably wasn't motivated to get a league minimum or anything. He's probably just motivated to be an everyday regular guy. Like I show up and I have a spot on the team.
I mean, you're
unique.
wrong there. He wants to.
So he's not you're not going to get Lucas Giolito to try harder because he's going to get more money if he does well. He's trying hard because he wants to do well for his teammates, and he is motivated in the process of excellence. And but it's unique because he's from life-changing, altering generational wealth.
Also won't take a discount for anything.
Smart.
And nor should he.
Yeah, smart.
Nor should he.
Yeah, this is from a family that has accumulated generational wealth, and they're smart. Like, he's not going to, sure, here's my services. And we're not to dive into Giolito. It's just like one example. Like another one would be Lance Lynn when he comes over and he's in the last year of a deal. And it's like, okay, the White Sox, you're coming from the Rangers and the White Sox. All that stuff builds up for Lance Lynn to come in like a dog. Now you have an off season, fucking around, team's good, expectations are through the roof, everybody's good. Like, if everybody just takes a little bit, their foot off the gas a little bit, I think this is what you get with the White Sox. See, like, you can't point your.
Lynn made $75 million prior to this year, so when his extension kicked in, it's only a 2-year extension, so it's not a big deal. And I don't think Lynn's the kind of guy to just take his foot off the gas. I'm talking about the guys that got paid prior to ever seeing money before, and not that Yohan didn't because he got that mega bonus prior to when they capped it for international signings, but. Like, Yohan Moncada, he becomes a really fucking expensive player the next 2 years. And if he's the reason you can't go and fix the roster, then you're playing for the wrong reasons. And you're managing and GMing and owning for the wrong reasons. So you better fucking either fix him and turn him into at least the player he was last year when he was still good, just not incredible. Or you bench his ass and throw Jake Berger in there or something, someone who wants it. Like, I don't care how you fix it, just fix it. And, I mean, I did the spaces for an hour last night, and...
What was the vibe?
Everybody's pissed. The entire every White Sox fan is furious with how this season has gone, and for good reason. And anybody who says, and this goes for especially Steve Stone, because he likes to yuck it up on Twitter and tell people that they're not allowed to be negative, through anybody else in the organization... say, hey, like, lay off us. Like, how are we supposed to lay off us? You guys hoodwinked us. You hoodwinked us. You said we want to be a destination for.
I do believe Hondo.
That was the
I
entire
think he's
thesis.
just a fucking.
He had the rug ripped from under his feet so badly through this whole thing.
Do you think so or no? You don't think that he genuinely wants to improve it, Carl? Because I really think that the man's just handcuffed.
He's completely handcuffed. There's so many cooks in that kitchen. The owner should own and open up the checkbook when need be. The GM and the VP should GM and VP, and the manager should manage. And there should be a very crystal clear like line of order, and there's not. Everybody's got their hand in the cookie jar.
So you don't. I'm very interested in your thoughts.
I'm not close enough as Dave is to have very strong opinions about like Rick Hahn's level of activity here. You can just say generally the general manager, is in charge. And it's been portrayed for a long time that he's like the master of the rebuild. So back, I don't know, a couple of years ago.
He's the guy that speaks to the media, that's why.
Yeah, but like if
He's
you're
the
going to give
face.
him all the credit, then then he should also be getting the blame.
There's plenty of blame to go for Rick Hahn.
Like nobody
and
was
I've never
sucking
not
Jerry
said that.
Reinsdorf's dick about how good the
I've never
like-
said that. And Rick Hahn himself yesterday said, we are all at fault here. This is an organizational issue. Rick Hahn is not absolved from every crime.
there's been no crimes committed. Dude.
You know what he's saying. I mean, like,
He
Trying to lighten the mood.
absolutely.
I don't think
has
there's any
fault.
lightening of the mood.
No, there's not.
When I just looking in his eyes when he was in here with us, Dave, like I don't know, something about it. I just got that vibe. Like he was just a man who like was trapped
Yeah.
in and he was just like, guys, I want to say, but I can't. Did you get that at all?
Yeah, I mean that's always how he
Yeah, where
is,
he's just like,
but
man, like it's just because he's like, he alluded to something where he's like, guys, the more you do this, there's just so much stuff that people just don't know. And we know that within Barstool.
Yep.
You know?
yeah.
We deal with it when it comes to stuff where people like, we're fans, bitch, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? It's like, well, if only you guys knew this.
Right, yeah, he's He's probably in a more difficult position than most other general managers.
Yeah.
Now, where I think Rick Hahn's made I don't know, fatal flaw, but he just keeps. We've talked a lot about the extensions, and so comparing this, or at least my experience following the Cubs, like the Cubs don't do extensions. They did it with Rizzo, and that was a home run extension. Like even when he signed it, people were like, "Whoa, 7 years and $42 million! Like we get Anthony Rizzo or 6, whatever it was." Theo didn't go back to that well.
Well, can you imagine if he did with Javi? What a disaster that would have been.
Just
too?
not that.
Yeah.
But that's Theo didn't do it with Samardzija when he came in.
Yeah.
He didn't do it with Arrieta in the 2015 season. He didn't do it, obviously, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
There are so many times and moments you're like, oh, that guy, I can see that guy be a Cub for life. And Theo didn't do that. That wasn't part of his strategy. And people say, well, Theo's only going to extend you if he knows he's going to win that deal. And so then it was frustrating as a Cubs fan because you're like, man, extend these guys. Then the opposite side of the city, you'd see Rick Hahn. It's like, fuck, man. He's locking up all his guys. And at the end of the day, they were both, they should have pulled a little bit from each other. There's guys Rick Hahn shouldn't have done that to, and there's guys Theo should have worked harder.
For sure. Definitely.
Like they should have worked harder.
There's that fine line.
To restructure an extension for Rizzo, knowing that it was coming down the pipeline. They should have figured out a way to fucking extend Wilson Contreras 2-3 years ago.
Well, let's get into that. I before we do, though, I do want to talk about Revitalight. If you're watching on YouTube, you see that beautiful blue bottle on my desk. Revitalight is an advanced rehydration solution designed to replenish vital fluids and minerals. It's powered by the same electrolyte formula found in the baby aisle, but with an improved taste and texture more appealing to adults. Revitalight is conveniently sold next to beer, wine, and liquor, so you can shop like an adult and hydrate responsibly. There's the Barstool Black Label, and they have the Berry Frost flavor. Here, I have it right here.
Delicious.
This is good stuff. You see the Barstool logo on there? I see them all the time now, I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're
They're
just
definitely
walk-
out there. Well, like this, I don't know if you guys have been outside much today. It's 1,000 degrees.
It's
Yeah.
80-some
Sweat
degrees.
through my shirt, and you need it. You don't want to be cramping up. And it's
Yeah.
like, you get the smoke out this weekend. You're going to be outside. You're going to be hot. You're going to be eating. You're going to be
Hit that
drinking.
Revitalight
You
tent.
want to have that Revitalight.
Pro tip, drink half at night and the other half in the morning for optimal results. And the best part is you don't need to just see it catch your eye, have it catch your eye in one of the aisles. You could pick it up in store or online at the Barstool store and tweet at us, tag us at Drink Revitalight in your morning after story. So like I said, just head over to the Barstool store and you'll be able to grab yours, which is great. So what I saw ESPN Chicago tweeted too, that like how Jed and Rick were saying like completely opposite things.
Just a bad day to have two baseball teams in your city.
Just see that?
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
So to clarify what Ed's talking about, Rick Hahn and Jed both gave interviews to ESPN 1000. Obviously, the Cubs being sellers and the White Sox in a position to be buyers. And Jed's comment was it really wasn't a seller's market. And then Hahn in his interview was like, it really wasn't a buyer's market. It was more of a seller's market.
Who's right?
I think they're both wrong. And
It depends on the player that you're trying to buy or sell.
I'll say I should preface anything I'll say about the Cubs with like yesterday I was not happy at all. If you subscribe to our YouTube page, I have like a 15-minute, it's not a rant, but
You're pissed.
yeah, the Bleacher Bum TV
You're
episode
pissed.
was not, because I can't make sense of the logic. So before I go down that path, I would just say Jed Hoyer is smart enough to know the reaction. And I do give him credit for having the balls to be like, man, this is going to look so bad. To
prop up his iPhone.
So bad. They did the hugs. People were crying, standing ovations. I mean, they leaked that they were trying to trade Ian Happ when nobody was talking about trading Ian Happ. Like, they said the Ian Happ stuff. I was like, what the fuck? Why in 1,000 years would you be moving this guy when he's got another year and you don't have, like, it's a left fielder. You could buy out his last year arbitration, give him 5 years and $65 million or something. Figure out what he wants and just fucking give it to the guy. And then cross left field off the list for the next 5 years. They've refused to think about the roster like that. I have no clue how the Cubs got to the point they're like, we got to put in the media that Ian Happ's on the block. We got to get Cubs fans ready to move him. That was so fucking stupid. But
That was from them, you think?
I mean, that
Couldn't come from an agent or something like that.
I would highly doubt that,
Okay. It's a question.
because the
Yeah.
Cubs went on and they owned it, man.
Yeah.
That social media shit, that push, the goodbyes, They really leaned into it. And I don't think Hap's doing that if he's hearing rumors from his agent. I think it's you commit to that spot mentally. He was on 670 and Hap was like, it's just a very lonely process right now. He was emotional. I don't think you can get to that if it's like, hey, you might get traded. I think you get to that point if you're like, wow, I'm
on my way.
I'm getting chopped. And he was just in the All-Star game. So
Yeah.
he's around, league personnel and decisions. So
It's actually impressive how much they've been able to piss people off comparatively to the White Sox, where like fans really should be pissed off and there's real tangible things going on where they should be good and they should be better and they should be looking ways to improve. And the Cubs, where it's like people should be like, yeah, we know where we're at, but they still are finding ways to get people angry.
yeah, they're in multiple danger zones. They are, you could make an argument that the Cubs are incompetent. You could make an argument that the Cubs are malicious towards fans. You could make an argument that Tom Ricketts isn't a baseball fan and doesn't care about the team. You can make an argument that it's all fake and everything they've talked about since he bought the team is a whole pile of bullshit. There's so many arguments you could make and the Cubs would lose. They'd be like, what do you mean? Now, whatever the truth is, perception is reality. And as Cubs fans, I mean, there's almost nobody who's like, well, just wait. They've got to figure it out. They want the World Series capital is so long gone.
I've heard, and I never really subscribed to this, but I've heard people make the argument that if you win a World Series, you get a 5-year grace period. The 5 years is up, and it's a disaster. And that whole thing you're saying about Ricketts, remember when they bought the team, how everyone's like, oh, he's one of us. He's a rich guy. He met his wife in the bleachers. And then like that was the story. Like he's going to be an owner fan like the Mets have with Cohen.
He would sit
He's
in
a
the
real
bleachers.
estate fan.
Couldn't be any different than Steve Cohen is what they sold us. Like we thought we were getting with the Mets.
And to be fair, we're coming off Sam Zell, and it was like the worst thing ever. He was going to change the name to Mick Wrigley, and it was going to be fucking awful, and Wrigley Field was going to be fucked. Like it was a welcome change.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's worn out, and I mean, that time has passed, and we've had enough experiences. I am the Wilson Contreras stuff is. Let's get into this for a second. The logic behind this. So the Brewers are, competing to win the division, and if they don't win the division, they'll probably go to a wild card. Or see how that shakes out. But right now, as we record this, it's late or early August, and the Brewers are very much thinking about October. The Brewers also made a trade to improve themselves in the long term. The Cubs got just get worked by the Brewers at every single level of professional baseball. Are you telling me a small mid-market that we've just dumped on for like decades can get better in the long run when they don't really need to because they're set up for the long run, when the Cubs have to get better in the long run and they don't do it?
Does it make you think Jed's a fraud?
No. Makes me think that Jed is too principled. He's like at the table with the Mets, like, no, I'm not coming down for my price. Like, bro, you have no fucking leverage at all in the least bit. You have to get rid of that guy. And if you don't get the prospect you want on it, be a better salesman. Like part of it is like I feel like Theo is a good salesman.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that Wilson Contreras is not on a team that could absolutely need his services, and here's where the logic falls apart if you're gonna say extend him. So the Cubs were like, well, it fell apart at the end, and now the options are like we're gonna keep him this year, and then we're gonna work towards a deal. He's been an employee of the Cubs for like 14, 15 years.
What do you fucking
now you're gonna
right?
We're gonna visit an extension while you're 21 games under 500. What is his agent going to say? And the Cubs are going to come back and say, look, the trade market wasn't that hot. If I'm Jed, I'm talking to Wilson's agent, I'm saying we tried to trade him, and teams weren't as interested as you think they are. I was on those calls. We didn't get the prospects we wanted. When we go to free agency, you're going to find out. Don't go to free agency. Take this extension right now. Wilson Contreras' agent, if he's not a complete moron, I don't know who he is, go to free agency. Because you only set a market. Like the Cubs are coming off this trade deadline being like, the market for Wilson is not what you thought it was. You only talked to 5 teams. I'm sure they talked to everybody. But at the end of the day, like the pool of people who would actually be interested is small. So now we're going to go to free agency. Did anybody see the Rockies give Chris Bryant $182 million at all?
No.
Surprised the shit out of everybody, right?
Yep.
So if you were going to free agency, like, well, we'll just get Chris Bryant on an extension. There's teams out there that are going to do that to Wilson Contreras. We're like, what the fuck? Why are the Diamondbacks is a perfect
because
team.
they do
Dave.
stupid fucking.
They would come in and be
shit
like, "We've
that.
got $16 million for 6 years." You know, and it's like, okay, that's close to 100. We'll give you some performance incentives. If you're Wilson Contreras, you're walking out the fucking door, and the Cubs, you got your dick in your hand, and you're going to get the 37th overall compensation pick. So then the question is, you're telling me Jed Hoyer and the Cubs couldn't go out and find a minor league player, a prospect, a package of prospects that they know more about and are more comfortable about than going to the amateur draft
And would have an accelerated timeline.
to pick 30. We're not talking about a top 10 pick where you're like, we've been watching this guy, we've been following this guy. You get that deep in the draft, it's like your decision tree is so far down. You have no idea what you're getting when you say we're going to take that pick, and then you're putting all your eggs in the basket that you're going to like nail the scouting report on the guy you draft. And then meanwhile, we're not talking about Michael Givens or David Robertson. We're not fucking talking about Daniel Descalso. We're talking about Wilson Contreras.
This is why people who are upset about the DeBrincat trade, when he came down from his price, Kyle Davidson had a higher price, and he just like, look, the best thing is to move him and get something, and they got something, and it feels like Jed took the opposite approach, and now it's like, well, now what?
Now what?
Now we're fucked.
And but then people say, well, that's just a difficult situation, right? But they created the difficult situation because they could have extended him at any point in time. They could have come off the COVID year and been like, all right, let's just look ahead for a second and figure out what we actually need. So who's going to catch for him next year? Wilson Contreras has probably been the only thing holding them together from like not even from being like a AA team.
Yeah, is waivers,
Which is I shouldn't say I'll take that back.
AAA.
Thank you.
Is waivers insane? Can they do that?
That's gone.
Oh, they don't do that no more?
What do you-
Waiver trading,
Yeah.
like after the deadline.
Like, you remember when
that's
they're
gone.
like, oh, they don't do that?
No.
Oh, I used to
I
love
would
that.
love that. A little
Remember that?
like the Cole
sneaky.
Hamels?
Yeah, remember that? That was
And-
the best.
And
where
teams
someone-
would like put a lot of guys out and try to be like, oh, they put out,
Yeah, and
like
always-
6
And then they'll
guys.
pull him back real quick.
Right, and then they pull him back if someone tries to claim him,
Why'd
but they
they get
tried
rid
to
of that?
sneak somebody through.
that was like the sneaky
It
trade
was-
deadline.
Yeah, I loved it too. It
Fucking
had the
Bobby
little,
Abreu's
little
on
bit of
waivers.
drama.
I think the players didn't like it.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Ed.
Fuck.
And the worst part about all this, the absolute worst part, is that I'm not like, it's not that I don't like Ian Happ or I don't like Wilson Contreras or whatever. These guys are Major League Baseball players that are the best players on the team I love the most. Like, in a perfect world, they only play for the Cubs. In a perfect world, the good players on the Cubs will never play on another team. I feel like, isn't it the same thing with anybody?
Yeah.
So the emotions and like the anger is more about the fact that I had circled this week as like, by the end of this week, I'll be able to know what the Cubs are going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know what they're going to do free agency next year, but what they do at the deadline, you kind of get an idea.
Same to me.
I am as confused as I've ever been as a Cubs fan. Like the last time I had this little of an idea of what the Cubs were doing was long before they made a play for Alfonso Soriano. Like that's when that was a point in my life where I got really dialed into like, how do you build a team? I think it was when they drafted Pryor. It's like, ooh, Joe Mauer, Mark Pryor. And you kind of get plugged into like, okay, they're building a team and you become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to go back like 15, 16 years in the midst of being owned by the Tribune and Jim Hendry signing Jeremy Burnitz and Cliff Floyd and just bringing in 1 year deal after 1 year deal. You know, like that was a more clear time than where we're at now. No clue. And no clue these, but like Pete Crow Armstrong's good. Like, fuck yourself. Seriously. Stop talking about prospects. Stop it.
2025.
I'm going to kick that back 2026.
We need to do a comprehensive gathering of information to find out how many cities where it's the same shit. Because, I mean, you look down the line.
This is as bad as it's ever.
Yeah. Like, it's awful.
I think people will probably from other markets might push back on this. It's different when you're one of the three biggest cities in the country.
But here's the thing, though. I'm not talking about wins losses. I'm talking about the people. The people at the top.
Dude, the
McCaskies are fucking embarrassing.
Yep.
Obviously, Jerry's got 2 teams, but still, the Bulls are in the best spot because it seemed there's a.
Because of AK.
Yes, they put a guy to run the show that we trust a little bit now.
They're all working out together, out in the whole team basically out in LA. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean,
that's nice.
Sure, but like and it's.
Well, here's the big difference in it.
Ward's family has a lot to prove.
The Bulls are the only team in the city that or are smart enough to realize you need a very talented person to like run the team and be tasked with the success.
Yeah.
And so like they go to the Nuggets and we'll pay whatever that guy is, and then it's like, well, we'll get Billy Donovan then. It wasn't like they're not fucking around. Like I don't know. David Ross is probably going to be a good manager, right? They took a shot on David Ross.
Yeah.
You know, Jed Hoyer probably could be a good GM. Theo tapped him the day they came over from like in 2012 in November. Like, okay, when I'm done, then here's the plan, all that stuff. That's not a free market. Rick Hahn worked under Kenny forever. Kenny's worked under Jerry forever. You know, like I'm not an expert on the Blackhawks, but everything I've heard sitting next to Chief over the years here, like the shit that they got going on, there's that all mirror each other.
I would even
Meanwhile,
give the
Joe
worst,
Sakic's winning fucking executive awards of the year, and I'm sitting here being like, "What, Joe Sakic?"
Yeah.
Eiserman.
like I would even give the Wirtz family a pass, to be honest.
How?
Just based on what was before them. I mean, not the grandfather.
That's-
I'm saying
yeah.
since Rocky took over.
Yeah.
Like this is their first dark stage. Let's see how things are not well here. Things are not great right now, but let's see how they
but
come out of this.
You guys are a true dynasty. Like the Cubs weren't a dynasty.
Totally. That stretch from 09 to 15.
Yeah, like it
was spectacular.
Yeah.
Like Yankees late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
Good.
and you know, and they were a puck off of Nicoletti's ass from getting 4. You know, like they were an elite team for a long time, but they also. Rocky, I would say that the biggest criticism of him is he was not minding the store. He let John McDonough run that thing in the fucking ground, and he was like, well, you know, the money's good, and I'm not really involved, which turned out to save his ass because he didn't know about the Kyle Beach stuff. But he was not involved, and to the point that he let other people, his employees, ruin the organization.
Sure.
Like, ruin it, and now his son is running it, and so all the credit you want to give to Rocky, Danny doesn't get to benefit from that.
You're right.
So
You're right.
Danny's the guy, and it's, you know, there's like a learning curve. I'm willing to grant him a little bit of grace, and I think the hockey ops side is on the right path, but he doesn't exactly have any goodwill built up at all. So he's got to, and I like him as like a person. But I don't, you know, he doesn't have any goodwill built up yet. So they got to do things the right way, get the organization as a whole. I think the hockey ops is on the right path, and I really like Kyle. And you know, that Jed thing where, like, if he there's a lot of similarities between what they did with DeBrincat and what they did with Contreras. And you know, and I talked to people in that organization that's like, well, we're gonna get what we got for Hagel, but better. And it's like, no, you didn't. Okay, you got a lot less for a lot better player, and a guy who had, you know, a year left on his deal before going to, you know, effectively free agency. And it was like, do we want to commit to this guy? Probably not. And it's like, we're probably better off, you know, removing him and not getting as much as we want and taking the slings and arrows. But at least we have a plan that we're going to see through, and we think it's the right way, and you know, we'll see how it goes. And I think that's better. And they're on that 2025 plan, like legitimately, but it's going to take some time. But the Wirtz family, so they've owned. This is the 4th generation owner.
When did he exactly take over?
Danny,
Yeah.
April 2020, so like right after the shutdown.
Okay, yeah.
And so you had a 6-year run from 09 to 09 to 16, or I'll even give them a 9-year run. I'll give them 09 until November when they fired Joel. Okay. So like basically it was the Joel Quenneville era. That was like the golden era. Everything before that, shit. Everything since then, shit. And they had a couple of like, you know, great peaks with Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita, and they had good teams in the 80s. But for one of the, if you're going to compare them to like the other original 6 type franchise, Boston's better. Detroit, obviously, way more success in the history of the organization. Montreal, most successful ever. Toronto has more cups. They haven't won anything. They haven't won a cup since '67, but they're I would say that they're in the mix more, and they're better run as an organization probably right now, although they have some problems too. But they're like the Hawks and the Rangers are kind of looked at as the redheaded stepchild of the original 6, and the reason for that ultimately is the ownership. And they haven't, you know, they've run the team for 4 generations. Almost 2026 will be 100 years of the Blackhawks being in existence. And to have be in the league for 100 years and have 6 cups out of 100, and for half of that time there were only 5 other teams. Like, that's not exactly great.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I wonder how many people have that same perspective. I really do. And like I said, that's not saying you're wrong, but I do think a lot of people view it's like the Hawks are coming off a dynasty. Like, you guys, like, just shut up, you guys. That's what happens after dynasties rebuild.
Yeah, but
I do think that
totally.
Like, where people will be like, "What are you talking about?" Comparing the Maple Leafs
like
to
6
the
Major
Hawks.
League Baseball teams have never won a World Series, and you guys got 3 of them in such a you guys got 3 championships in such a window.
But the flip side of that coin is you can, like, if you have 2-3 generational guys, like top 100 players ever under contract. They went 8 years. They went in the entirety, and there's 1 year left. They're not making the playoffs. You sign those guys, and you don't win a single playoff series in 8 years with Taves, Kane, and Keith. That's fucked.
Is it different if you guys lose the 13 Cup and then win an 18 Cup?
But they wouldn't have.
I'm just saying, is it different
if they have 2 in terms of like a grace period? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like,
interesting question.
It's an interesting question, but like, because that 13 team. That team was so loaded. But if let's say like the 16 year was the year where Seabrook hit both posts and they lose to the Blues in Game 7, the Blues went on a deep run. Like, who knows what the Hawks do that year? And then, but like they were on their way to being a very flawed team. Really, like, that's summer of 15 is when Stan really fucked everything up, and he went 15 he fucked up, 16 he fucked up badly at the deadline, like horrendously. That was the year they also traded Taravainen just to get rid of, like, he had like multiple decisions that, like, that were so bad that the results were immediate, that he should have been fired based on just that one thing. And he had like 6 of those over a stretch of 4 years, and then he didn't even really get fired for performance. He got fired for the beach stuff. So it was just like they just were not minding the store. And if you want to be a hands-off owner, like, that's fine, but you need to be minding the store enough to know that, hey, like, what these guys are doing is fucked. And John McDonough, fucked. Stan Bowman, fucked. And like, you have to be involved enough to have an opinion and not let people make stupid decisions like forcing out Edzo. So like, that's what I mean. So like, their first real, they've had 2 major decisions as an organization since Danny's been there, I would say, would be to hire the general manager and then this broadcast situation. And I would say the general manager, they got right. And the business side of things is looking like they're not doing it right. So we'll see. I hope things turn around, and it's like, it's very early in the process and they're not trying to win anytime soon, but they got to be more hands-on and not just like punt to whoever the president is.
So it's like, I don't know if anybody else is picking up on this, but
there's a common denominator here.
It comes down to people. There's usually 1 or 2 guys at each organization, and if you're
it's always a
successful,
head
you can
honcho.
win, right? It's like
Jerry Reinsdorf to the Ricketts to the Wirtz, and then we'll get to Ed and we'll talk about the McCaskies. I'm sure.
like it'll start, but then again, like his point, it all comes back to like, you're not paying attention, you trust this guy too much, there's a mistake, and same thing. Tom Ricketts is like, all right, I'm going to listen to Crane Kenny and I'm going to listen to these other people. As a fan, I'm just trying to figure out, like, I just keep asking this, why do I care so much? Why does this bother me? I just want to be able to get to a point where I can look at my team and look ahead. And we're all just looking at every team here. And
you want to have some hope.
Like, what do we do? I don't even know where this is going. Like, at least, and we're going to get to Bret Bielema in a little bit. And
there's some hope there.
Like, I talked to Bret Bielema, we're like, whoa, I like this. Like, you have an identity and a future and all stuff. It's so non-existent in Chicago right now.
No. And like team. The Bears do, obviously it's a new regime, but we're talking of years of battered by
Yeah.
the McCaskies.
Yeah,
so
this
it's
has
like
nothing to do with
yeah,
Everflus.
yeah, no, nothing to do with Everflus or polls, but it's
Not yet, at least.
no, not yet at least,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
but
it's your
just-
buddy who keeps me. He's like, yeah, I got a new girlfriend. She's great. She's the coolest girl in the world. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
we've done this 6 times.
It's
It
a
always
new-
goes down
yeah.
in flames. I'll meet her. I'll be nice, but
It's a new sitcom on Museum Drive. It's like, I'm ready. I'm going to sit down
Yep.
and, and yeah, let's get to the new beacon of hope for Carl in that seat that hopefully cheers him up a little bit more, right? Bret Bielema.
a legitimate friend of the program. Guys, here's the University of Illinois head football coach, Bret Bielema.
Whoosh.
Whoosh.
We're in the interview portion of today's show. We're with Coach Bielema. Obviously, Bret, thanks so much for giving us time.
Absolutely.
We just brought up a little bit pre-show here, like week 0 stuff. How are you guys' first game of the calendar this year for college football like it was last year? Where do you guys break out this year?
Yeah, so last year we played week 0 against Nebraska. I think there was probably, a half a dozen games on maybe that first week. This year, actually, ironically, last year we were supposed to be week 0 against Nebraska in Ireland, but because of COVID, that got blown up everywhere. So this year in our conference, there's 3 teams playing. Northwestern's playing Nebraska in Ireland in that same game. And then obviously we're opening up against Wyoming. So I think there's 2 or 3 other games that weekend, but a unique opportunity with week 0 game.
Yeah, because I would imagine there's a good pull for you to motivate the boys about, hey, everybody's been there's nothing like guys like me and Dave sitting around going, dude, we're 3 weeks away from football season. We're 2 weeks. We're 10 days. We're 9. So is that part of the motivation to get the season going where it's like, guys, all the eyes are on us. Like you have an opportunity to make a statement early, or is it just back to, is it still kind of generic one game at a time? It doesn't really matter.
Carl, I think I don't recall a point in my career where I may have, but I don't think I'd ever played a week 0 game. And I remember getting ready and you would always see these early games and you would be like, well, hey, they're getting it rolling early. And then last year when we played Nebraska, we were fortunate enough to win that game. It was amazing. Obviously, it was my first game, and there's a lot that goes into that. But just the exposure that we got the program that year, a year ago, and then to win it, obviously, was just icing on the cake. So I think to capture this again this year, and then the other byproduct of that is you get 2 bye weeks. Everybody else in college football only gets 1 this year, but we get 2 because we play in this week 0 game.
That's awesome. That's awesome because I know that you guys are going to take advantage of that bye week to keep pushing that identity forward. Do you mind just catching up our audience? There's a lot of guys here that are listening that are Illinois fans, but there's other broader college football fans.
Ton of Big Ten fans.
And as someone who's like close as a fan watching the program, like I kind of know what the identity was before you came in and what the changes you are making. But I think it would be helpful if you could kind of explain it in layman's terms of like, what was the identity that you inherited and how is that kind of transitioning or transforming now?
Carl, I've said this, Lovey, obviously, now he's a head coach of an NFL team, right? They had some really strong characteristics in the program that we try to accentuate that. And then really anything that we didn't maybe see in the same way, we try to transition or mold that to kind of how we see it as coaches. So last year was unique. I told Josh Whitman, our AD, there's never been a time in college football where it had been so advantageous to take over a program because the recruiting rules allowed you really to kind of actively recruit a portal that's never really been exposed before, right? So we were able to bring in transfers, able to bring in grad transfers, and then also our seniors had a bonus year, right? So we were able to keep a lot of those guys for a 6th year of college football. It sounds like a spoof out of a movie back in the day where guys got 6-7 years of college football, but it's really reality that we're in right now. Palcho, who we actually got back for another year because he had a redshirt year hidden in amongst the crowd. He's going into a season where if he starts every game this year, he'll be the most starts in the history of college football. So very, very unique. But I think, to be quite honest, we took over a program that, over the last 20 years hasn't had a lot of success. So we had a lot of positives that we could gravitate to. I know Dave's a big Northwestern fan, and, I showed those guys right out of the gate, if you want to get to where we want to go over the last 5 years prior to last year, the team that had won the Big Ten West had either been Northwestern or Wisconsin. Northwestern had done it twice. Wisconsin had done it 3 over the last 5 years. So for us to be able to end the season last year with a victory over Northwestern and the way that we did it, I think our guys got a lot of confidence, out of that moment and hopefully carried us forward. We were a 5-7 team. Didn't make a bowl game. We were 1 short. We played 12 games where 2 games were kind of lopsided losses, but the other 10 were very close games. We won 5 and we lost 5. And the truth is that we were probably somewhere in the middle of that. But I like the way our guys are handling this year so far.
How are you navigating the transfer portal? Because it's got to be the wild, wild west out there. I mean, you see every single year that the season ends, it's like so-and-so quarterback, USC quarterback, UNC. It could be anybody from everywhere. I think I read 50% of scholarship quarterbacks in the last that have been in the last 2 recruiting classes have been in the portal. So what are you guys doing to navigate around that to kind of bring those guys to Champaign or, kind of facilitate guys to go maybe to a lower division, ISU or something like that?
Great point, Dave. So our top 2 quarterbacks who are kind of battling it out were both transfers. Art Zukowski is a transfer from Rutgers that I grabbed 2 springs ago. And then Tommy DeVito came in January of this year as a transfer from Syracuse, and then really last year's starter with Art was Brandon Peters, who he wasn't in the portal necessarily, but he was a transfer from Michigan. I think the numbers for quarterbacks generally spike a little bit higher than any other position, just because I think if they aren't finding a light of where they're at, they naturally look for someplace different. I was very fortunate my previous stop in this conference to be at Wisconsin that I was able to grab Russell Wilson for a grad transfer that obviously not only changed the direction of his life, but the program that we were at. If we didn't have him in that year, we probably would have had a good year, but not the Big Ten championship, and not the Rose Bowl experience that our guys got. So, you just take a case in point. I mentioned earlier, obviously, I know you're a Northwestern fan. They have a young man that transferred from Donnie Navarro, who played for us against Northwestern in the last game of the year. Now he's there, and we actually have a young man, T-Rod Edwards, who's a D lineman.
Yep. He's a CPS
he's
kid
at our
too.
place.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of ships passing in the night, a little bit here and there, but it's a very unique time in college football.
Now, how do you factor the NIL into that? So I don't quite know the rules myself. That also seems like the Wild West. Do you guys have like a fund set up with different donors and different companies, or?
I think that's NCAA infraction territory, Dave.
I'm not sure that it is or not.
You're not putting my coach in the hot seat, are you?
But I saw something not Axios, Alvius or something, that Northwestern, Oklahoma State, LSU, and like a couple other blue blood big time programs all kind of join this. It's like an NIL head where they kind of do that as a third party for the organizations. And it's like you either have to have guys that are making good money to compete for the Big Ten championships, because OSU, the top 10 or 15 programs are all going to have that. How do the maybe B-level and lower programs as it sits right now, like Illinois, Northwestern, Iowa, schools that aren't the LSUs of the world, how are they navigating that, to compete for those big recruits?
To be honest, it's kind of a case by case. So, for instance, us here at Illinois, we're governed. To be quite honest, the biggest deciding factor, especially in the early stages of this NIL world, was really state laws. Because it had kind of grown outside of the NCAA, there were certain rules that were prohibitive. Some of them were restrictive on what people could do and say. So about midway through the summer, they changed the laws here in the state of Illinois, which allowed the Department of Athletics here at Illinois to get a little bit, and our DA to get a little bit more involved. So it's a little bit of a combo platter. There's a lot of our guys that are getting independent deals. We have anything from guys that are working with our local boys and girls clubs, food banks, independent donors that reach out to our guys. We have guys that, Chase and Sidney Brown, who are 2 of our better players, are Canadian. They're under student visas, so they have to do all their NIL work when they're at home in Canada.
Okay.
We got a guy, Luke Ford, who's got a WWE deal, who I'm expecting him to jump from the top rope here at any day into a live stream audience. But it's really kind of a moving target. One that we embrace. I think as coaches, we would, guarantee, I would guess most I know I do, anything that can proactively help our players, we're in favor of, right? Like, what you do have to do is kind of massage and manage what's going on. Like we have a young man that got a car, right? Like he got a really nice car, right? And all of a sudden he's showing up in that. He hasn't been here all that much, but because of that, right, that brought a lot of questions up in the meeting room. So my idea, my utopia would be to paint all. I have 85 scholarship players, just like everybody else.
Yep.
If we could paint every one of those guys with the same brush, just kind of as a baseline, right, and then kind of build on it from there. You're naturally your good players, your high level guys are going to naturally get better players. Like it's no secret. Like Kofi last year for basketball, I would guess. I haven't seen the numbers. My guess is he did very well, right? Maybe so better than the guy that was backing him up. It's just human nature. So the good thing is, Carl knows this, we have a lot of living alumni. We have 50,000 students on campus every year, which gives us a huge alumni base, which just, obviously promotes a lot of great opportunities for our guys.
Yeah. So what are, we've talked a little bit, I think last time you were on the show, we did a fun thing where it was like, all right, come into my living room right now and recruit.
Right.
White Sox Dave's a big quarterback, but that was from a high school perspective. So I guess tying together some of the transfer stuff, tying together some of the NIL stuff, and then applying it specifically to the University of Illinois. Like, can you go into Dave's living room again? Can we say he's a junior standout transfer, big arm quarterback from Northwestern, maybe a little bit of a problem away from the field, kind of hard to coach and stuff, but the type of guy, if you get the most out of him, he's going to the next level. We don't have to go full role play, but what are those, like, maybe if it's three big things, or do you have it, like, what does that pitch kind of look like for a guy like Dave?
Absolutely. I'll role play with you. All right. So, hey, Dave, I can't tell you as a prospect that I'm recruiting what I'm going to give you, but I can tell you Carl came to a spring game. He took advantage of the opportunities that he had. He threw strikes when they needed to be thrown. He completed touchdowns. Touchdowns become, big factors in winning games. And because of that, he secured a $100,000 NIL deal, right, that ensures, right, not only for him to have success while he's here at Illinois, but gives him a nest egg to move beyond. So he's a current player on our roster that's been able to be involved and gain these deals through the NIL. And that's something that I think you could, eventually see if you were able to come here, be a part of. That would be the ballpark of what we're talking about, right? So even though we can't promise, right, what a young man may get, right, you can talk about what guys on our campus have received. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. That's really the lay of the land. You can't in any way, shape, or form talk to someone that you're recruiting about what they will get when they get there.
Okay.
What you can talk about is the perspective of what our current players are getting, right? And what they've been able to secure. So there's a lot of things. I think, listen, overall, NIL is an unbelievable opportunity for our players. I do think there's some guardrails that everybody would say that they kind of need to be in place. It's kind of like in the years past, you've only been able to have 85 scholarships. You've only been able to sign 25 guys within a year. But because of the transfer portal, you may have 35, 40 guys that have left left a scholarship, and you could only sign 25. So I might have 10 scholarships, but I couldn't give them out. That made no sense. So the NCAA came in and allowed us. Now basically you have 85 moving scholarships that, hey, if one guy comes in and needs a scholarship and another guy has already left, I can literally give it to him that day. So there's some things that are moving in the right direction, but definitely a work in progress.
That's interesting, because specifically to see, I didn't know that those are the rules, that you can't say like this is what you could get, but you can use what has been done historically. I think that rule makes sense. Is there any crossover where you're working with Coach Underwood, or do you find yourself leaning into, you brought up Kofi earlier, obviously he's just such a big name and did well for himself. Are there rules against saying hey, this is what, some of the big athletes on campus have done? Or are you just more specific, here's what our quarterbacks or here's what our football players have done?
Carl, it's a great perspective, right? Obviously I talked to Coach Underwood quite a bit. He and I are, just engaged in different conversations as the head men's basketball and the head football coach. There's a lot of different events, and he and I kind of think a lot alike, and to be honest about what we do. But really, to Josh's credit, Mike Small's our golf coach, right? I talked to him quite a bit. Dan Hartlib, our baseball coach, we've Shawna Green, our new women's basketball coach. He's built an environment here where we really lean on each other. We just hired a track coach Petros that is coming in that has national championship backgrounds, right? So one of the things that has happened, I'll talk to Brad, hey, we're sending over this player. When they were playing on a Sunday to win a Big Ten championship in basketball, we had a bunch of recruits on campus, and he allowed those guys to come over and watch, and he met with them individually which I'm forever grateful. But one of the coolest things that happened is Kofi literally grabbed one of our recruits and said, "Hey, I love playing here. I love being in Illinois, but I can never be him." And he pointed to Isle's jersey, right? Because Isle's from Illinois, at Illinois. He goes, "I can never be him, but you can," right? And that like literally changed the script for us on a prospect. So it's an awesome environment to be a part of right now, and really speaks well to what Josh is building here at Illinois.
Did you lock that recruit up?
Yeah, I can't comment about current prospects, but I would say we did very well, I think.
Okay.
Stop trying to sabotage my program.
Here's a question I got for you on that note. So we interviewed Pat Fitzgerald 2-3 years back, and we asked him, the one who got away, and he told us the story how he was out with his family. I think he said he was at Disney World, actually, and he gets a call from Andrew Luck, and he sees it's Andrew Luck. He knew Andrew Luck was making his decision, and I'm pretty sure this is past the statute of limitations because it happened so long ago, commenting on other commits, whatever. But he thought he was calling him to say, "Hey, I'm committing to you, coach." Obviously, you went to Stanford. So obviously it didn't happen. Do you have a story? It could have been at Arkansas or Wisco or wherever else you coach, of one that got away where you're like, damn, that would have been amazing.
I don't know if it's anything about getting away. I mean, you probably remember the ones you get more than the ones you
It's
know,
probably a better
away.
way to look at it. Glass half full.
I distinctly remember it was kind of one of those moments where we talked earlier about Russell, right? So one of my favorite memories, he was at NC State. He was playing minor league baseball, right? Mm-hmm. And he came on his visit, and he had visited Auburn, and he had visited us. And Auburn, that was a year they had just won a national championship. Cam Newton was a first-round pick. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, and it was us and Auburn. And I distinctly remember Russ went to Auburn first, and he came to our place, and we only had him for one night. Usually a visit takes 2 nights, but he was only there one night. We tried to jam as much into it as we could. I thought it had gone really well. And I just kind of, as a head coach, you have these moments where you're like, all right, what do you want to close this with? How do you want to say this? And I knew it was us and Auburn, but he was also in the back of his mind toying with, do I even want to play college football anymore? He had gotten drafted in baseball. Him and his dad had talked a lot about getting drafted in both sports. So one X factor that was there hanging in the weeds was, do I not even play college football anymore? Do I just pursue baseball? And he was leaving my office, and I grabbed him. I said, "Russ, enjoyed the last 24 hours. You saw this, and this. We don't really talk about what goes on at other visits. I know he had already been to Auburn and what they had done. But I said this when he was leaving my office. I said, Russ, let me tell you something. If you don't play for me, I said, go play for Auburn, right? Because college football and the game of football needs you, right? And I said that, and I kind of took a moment afterwards, and I'm like, boy, I hope I just didn't send it to Auburn, but I felt it was going our way. And then he called me up a little bit later on and told me he was coming. And there are those little moments where you say things that, they sound good and you feel good, but you really don't know how they're going to play out. And obviously that one worked.
Yeah, like telling the girl where it's like, I just want to see you happy. Like if it's not me, make someone it's someone happy. Like,
and you're always lying when you say that.
Yeah,
every single time. It's just lying to their face.
I can't speak to that. That's just your guys' point of view.
You brought up the spring game. I guess thank you. Obviously, I get a lot of questions about that from my friends and people that come up. It's like when I bump into my buddies. We were just playing golf in Erin Hills a couple of weeks ago, and it was a group of Illinois baseball guys, and we're on the tee box. There's like 8 of us, and I mean, like, we're not even together for 5 minutes, and it's instantly, it's like, all right, Stirk, what the hell? What's the story? How the hell did you get on the field? So this isn't really as much, I guess it is a question. I want to say thank you for letting me do that, but like, for the people that don't believe me when I'll tell this story down the road, can I, like, why did you have me come play quarterback? How does that shape up on your end, I guess, too, at a bigger level of like, from a standpoint of making things fun and because I get it too, right? It's the Barstool guy, played baseball here and stuff. There's a great connection, and I love, you have no idea how much I love the fact that we get to talk about the football team, that I still have this connection with the university, how much the school means to me. But even so, what the hell am I doing playing quarterback in the spring game, Coach?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Goes way back. This is my going into my 14th year as a head coach. And when I'm back at Wisconsin, we would always kind of try to find things to make the spring game a little bit unusual, not only for our fans, but for our players. I always say this, the game of football, the first time anybody played it, it wasn't because it was in front of 80,000 people. It wasn't because it was national TV. It's because somebody rolled a ball out on the ground and said, hey, let's play football and have some fun, And when I was at Arkansas, we had an incredible young man by named Kanan Sandy, who was still one of my good friends, who was a huge super fan. And we invited him one spring to join us, and we designed a play. And Kanan took the play and ran it into a touchdown for an end zone. And much to my surprise, Kanan, who could kind of be a ham, turned it into a touchdown dance. Our guys were going crazy. It was just an incredible moment. It was really warm, right? And then that kind of converted to, I think, maybe 2 years later, we invited someone from the SEC network to catch a pass, right? And then we allowed someone to throw a pass. And then I'm like, I need someone who can throw the ball with some accuracy. And to be quite honest, between Brett and Pat Pearson, they're like, hey, Barstool Carl will probably be the guy. And I said, hey, what do you mean? And they're like, well, he's a baseball player. I knew you were, but I didn't know your baseball background, right? So this is honestly how it started. I called Big Cat, right? Like I had known him from previous stop at Wisco with his red and white blood, right? That bleeds through. So I hit him up. He sent me your number. That's how we connected. But the part you probably don't know is this. I said, hey, I told our whole crew, I put your bio up there, kind of explained your story. I said, hey, the first time he's out there, like, we're not going to rush. We're going to kind of play dead, let him kind of stand back there and, throw it. And he's going to think that's how it is. I go, the second time, I said, every offensive lineman, just let your guy go and rush the living you-know-what out of him. And everybody scream as they're coming at him, right? Because he's going to take by surprise. So yeah. I didn't know, to your credit, I had no idea how you were going to handle it. I didn't know if you were going to fall down, you were going to bail out of there. And you threw a strike before they got there, which I was like, holy cow, I can't believe he just did that.
I had poop in my pants. I definitely had chocolate pudding in my underpants when they were coming through. And just like a funny thing that happened on that second play is the first play, I'm super nervous. I got butterflies. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I was nervous the second I got in the car and was driving down. Like, what? Why
yeah,
am I
I'd be shitting my pants.
doing? And for the second play, I'm going out there and I'm cocky. I'm calling the play in the huddle, double XY, banana flip 2. And we get up to the line. I do I bring my knee up and I get ready to clap and I kind of jog up behind the center and I point. I'm like, 54 is the mic, 54 is the mic. And 54 takes his mouthpiece out and he's like, hey, knock that shit off, Carl. And just puts his mouthpiece back in. And it was like, I was like, yeah, I guess I should probably knock that shit off.
Coach,
and then he came in.
You know that scene in The Waterboy where there's the SCLSU Mud Dogs, and then like Michigan tried to Talboy, and they have the clip of him going over the middle and he gets decapitated.
Yeah.
I wish you would have actually done that. I really wish you would have actually let him hit him.
I did tell him that they could run by him and scream, but they couldn't touch him. I didn't know if he was going to be one of those ambulance chasers and sue us if he got hurt or anything. So I didn't.
Make him sign a waiver. We're all good.
That is smart, though. I did go to law school just enough to understand the risk liability. I did drop out. Now we're talking about this. I think there could be an interesting crossover here.
I mean, Fitz he's got to get some eyeballs on the program right now. Bad year last year. I think the best way to do that would be to let me return punts or play scout team for him or something. Run scouts for him.
Do you guys need a punching bag for Northwestern week where it's like, we're going to bring Dave down. We can just put him in a purple uniform. And you're like senior day, like before you run on the field, like the opening scene of Rudy where you get to tackle the tackling dump, but it's White Sox Dave. Like all the seniors get to lay Dave out.
I was voted hardest hitter my freshman and sophomore years at Wheat Morville South High School.
Any interest?
And that was in football?
That was in football, yes. By my teammates, mind you.
Well, two things. I'm not going to give Fitz any. If there's a guy that I honestly respect in this conference, it's Fitz. Like what he's done. Honestly, last year when we're getting ready to play him, they beat Illinois 6 years in a row. And I said, before we can try to even compete with them, we got to respect them because what they've done is unprecedented. So I understand and hear what you're saying, but I think they're going to be all right. Would be my guess.
They'll be fine. They'll be good. It's a good program.
So one of my confidants about football is my cousin Matthew was a starting left tackle for Illinois Wesleyan for all 4 years. He was down there 3 years. If I offended somebody, I'm sorry. And he's just like a blue-blooded offensive lineman. He's a CPA now. He's a consultant, does his stuff, but you got to give credit for those guys that love football so much that he's like, I'm going D3. I'm going to play. I'm going to build my relationships. I'm still going to go to school. I love the game that much. He's a great guy for me to talk about football because he's always just talking about stuff I'm not really looking for. And one thing he told me when we hired you, coach, is he's like, you have no idea how big your offensive line is going to get. Like, if there's one thing Bielema teams do, is they just load up on the offensive line. They're always bigger than the guys they stack up against. So I'm curious, can you give me like a progress report on the size of our team? Can you validate that that's part of your philosophy, is having the big boys?
I honestly don't, go recruit offensive linemen just if they're big, right? They got to be good. But I do think when big people talk, people listen usually, right? And we have probably recruited a little bit more to that world than ever before, at least during the recent history here at Illinois. I think as we had guys come, visiting coaches, buddies of mine, NFL people, when they came in the spring and this summer, and they saw what our O-line looked like, I could tell by their reaction, very positive, right? Yeah, Palcho probably is our most career start guy. He looks better. He's actually weighing about 315, 318, but he looks like he weighs about 280. He's leaned up, looks really good. Julian Pearl is bigger than he's ever been, looks good. Pilstrom is looking great at center. They added a couple of junior college guys, Zy Chrysler. He came in at 358. I believe he's down to 328. And Isaiah Adams, we brought in about 305. He's up about 320 now. So we've kind of added and subtracted on some guys. And we brought in one young man from Denmark, who I believe is 6'8", 310. We brought him in from out of country. So, yeah, we hopefully are going to take some steps in the right direction.
Well, that's great. That's honestly the identity that like a fan base can get behind, especially this part of the country and like what Illinois football is. Because I think realistically, like you've talked about it, me growing up as an Illinois guy, I'm realistic about who we are. And I've always thought the successful Illinois football teams are the ones that have like committed identities. Like we're the Ron Zook teams, that was a good era for Illinois football. They had a clear defined identity. The same thing with the Ron Turner era. Like he was pumping out receivers and pro style quarterbacks. And I remember John Bucher comes over from Iowa and like he puts up 3,000 yards. And like that was an identity. Now I'm not saying that, those are identities that compete at the, at the absolute top, but it was still an identity. And I get the sense that like, that's where you're taking this team and this identity of like, we're going to run the ball. We're going to be tough. We're not going to give up. I love what you just said, or at the top when you were talking about the schedule and saying like, yeah, there were 2 games. Okay. But the 5-5 and we played tough. I remember that Penn State game. For years I've been watching Illinois football, and those are the type of games you just narrowly fumble. And it's like, I do get the sense that this identity and this shift is turning, and it's really exciting from my end. And this is something
it's
we've
even
been
excited
from
my end because like Carl's always talking to me as a Northwestern fan, like, oh, Dave, you hate Illinois. I don't hate Illinois at all. I just don't care about Illinois. And I think it's probably reciprocated because neither team has ever been like really good at the same time. So I know it's the in-state rivalry. You guys compete on the field and off the field for recruits against each other all the time. But Illinois is nowhere near my hatred scale like Notre Dame is, for instance. I would love to be able to hate Illinois. And I'm sure it's reciprocated from your guys then, like on a friendly, ball-busting, competitive level,
Yeah.
So,
well, I think twofold. First, I appreciate what you're saying. And I think in the Big Ten West, right, like, to be honest,
it's going to be a good, deep league this year in the West.
Northwestern, we recruit obviously against them because of it, but we probably actually recruit against the Minnesota, Iowas, Wisconsin's a little bit more. Northwestern has such a national recruiting base because of all the academics and everything that goes into play. But I would also say, I think if you saw us now, we're bigger in the offensive line and defensive line. But, when you mentioned Ron Zook, I remember the skill players he had. Really, you saw guys that really took this program to a different level. And I think as you go out and watch us practice, the length that we have now is really, it jumps out to you. The length of our wide receivers, our DBs, really the speed that I think we're going to be able to play with. It's nowhere close to this roster that I think we can get to, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Last question from me, Coach. Again, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Last time you were on, we talked about, we asked you to single out if it was a player or 2 players or something in your head, guys that aren't going to get the national recognition this year. The scouts aren't showing up to see these guys, but as a head coach, college football guy, football man, you love coaching these guys. That they're leaders in the can we just give some credit to maybe some guys that that really bring the team together that aren't going to be on the cover of Phil Steele's magazine?
Yeah, I don't like to put pressure on freshmen, but and I know, Carl, you're a Brother Rice guy. We signed a young man out of Brother Rice, that Henry Boyer, who big, long tight end. He's been very impressive. I told a story the other day, the media, he got into it with one of our outside linebackers, and they literally got in a fight over because Henry thought Gabe took his rep, right? So they got mad because and literally got in a little scuffle because he was taking work away from him. Another Chicago area kid, I know you guys know Olin Kreutz, his son James, who came in. I just coached him today on kickoff return. He's very, very athletic. He loves the physicality of the game. I don't know how much it's going to play into this year, but I would say getting James recruits on campus this year has been very, very positive. A couple returning guys, I think the emergence of Tip Ryman could be a big part to our offense. Obviously Chase Brown and Josh McCray have done good, but I think there's a couple other running backs in the room that might make some noise. And then in the return game, took a young man out of South Dakota that is originally from Iowa, Cody Case, that one of the transfers that he's at least shown he can catch the football and do some stuff in the return game. Might be a dynamic player for us to keep an eye on as well.
I love it. Thank you for the insight, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. This is such a busy time and exciting time of the year for you guys. And my big takeaway from spending a day with you guys, I don't think anybody understands that you're closer to a CEO than you are to like what people understand of a traditional high school football coach or like the JV high school football. Like the amount of stuff, I couldn't believe. There's hundreds upon hundreds of people in the football building getting ready for the spring game. Staff here, trainer there, players here, equipment guys, this and that, marketing this. You got the AD people and donors and recruits, and it really is amazing. And again, thank you for your time. I know how busy you guys are. You've got some major fans listening to this. What's the best way for NIL if I'm an Illinois alum listening to this and I wanted to like get involved and kind of donate? Because I know there's a lot of opportunities to donate, but then it's like, oh, well, that money goes to scholarships or building resources. Like, is there a specific NIL fund where I know that money's going to go to recruiting and retaining good talent? Yeah, the Illini Guardians is a collective that you can obviously reach out to them, and they're really home based out of some Chicago area people, but also just reaching out to our athletic department. You can kind of do through your own independent deal, right? I see your beef kit NIL deal in front of you, right?
We'll send you one.
Yeah. If you wanted to, involve that, or somehow there's a million ways that you can directly help our student athletes in an NIL world that you can reach out to our athletic department, make that happen. Yeah, the wheels are spinning on my end. I've got some follow-ups and stuff, maybe some merch and some player interviews and stuff. But again, Coach, thank you so much. Good luck this season. We're just such Big Ten football guys. We are. We interviewed last year. You're our first Big Ten coach this year, but last year we interviewed probably half the conference, maybe. Yeah, close to half the conference, and you're our favorite. It's weird saying, like, once you get to know him on a, like, this is the first time we've ever spoken, but you get to know him on a small personal level. It's like, I hate that I like that guy, So, but good luck aside from the last game of the regular season. I hope it's a bloodbath in the Purple's direction. All right, that's enough. But we love you, Coach. Thank you for coming on. All right, appreciate it, man. And safe Carl, to the team. Dave, have a good, great. Yeah, we'll see you week 0, I. That's Bret. Great guy. I don't care what your affiliation is, where your loyalties lie. It's impossible to listen to Bret Bielema kick it with the boys and not feel like, man, he's a cool guy, right? Big time. Oh, yeah. And he and Dave are like, you guys are like friends. He likes you. Why? What's not to like? I mean, it was just like, here, meet Dave. I hate to send a direct shot, but he's come on the show more frequently than someone else. That's not on me. I know. And I say that as like a nudge because I love that guy too. So hopefully he hears this and we get him back on. Here, huh, Coach Fitz? Be nice. Be nice. Losing the battle for the state of Illinois and the rights to the Redline Radio podcast here right now. Honestly, it's 2-1. Bret. Yeah, and like that was March of 2019. Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, and he has been invited. We'd also be remiss too, out of that interview, not to plug our beautiful summer merch that we have going on in the Barstool store. What a collection! No, summer's not over. Dave, show them that hat. Show them that hot dog hat. Beautiful thing. That's in the Barstool store. We got Hawaiian shirts. We got swim trunks. We got other hats. We got basketball jerseys and more.
check it out. Store.barstoolsports.com. Go to the Chicago tab, and you'll see it all there. Eddie's Ice Cream.
Is that a Chicago hat?
I like that collection.
Is that one of our
It's
hats?
a good one.
It is not.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah, but
Well,
the Eddie Ice Cream
personally.
collection, like those colors, I feel like
Beautiful.
they just look good on
they
me.
really do
Yeah,
pop.
yeah.
They do.
I heard a rumor that like that's why Choco Taco is going out of business. They
How about that? That was before that happened.
I drafted Choco Taco.
Yeah,
I like a Choco Taco.
you did. You did.
The packaging, like the really shiny silver packaging, catches my eye.
Yeah, it does. It pops in the little freezer burnt container.
But this
I
happens.
saw-
Twinkies did that.
Yeah, it's probably
When
the
that
more
happened
about-
back in when the Twinkies did that, was it Twinkies or Ho-Hos? Twinkies,
Hostess.
the Hostess in general.
Right? It was Hostess.
Yeah.
I had a guy, because apparently the shelf life on those things, because of all the garbage they put into them, are like 50 years. No
It's
bullshit.
bullshit though. I saved a box at one, like, everyone was saving them at
That's
that time.
what this guy used to kind of work with was doing. He was just loading up. He's like, dude, in 20 years, these are going to be collector's items. I'm going to sell these for fucking fortune.
Yeah, everyone
Like,
was doing it.
Really?
So my parents had one, and then I looked at it like a year later, and it was 2 years later. It was fucked up. Like it didn't look. It looked fine, but it was hard and shit.
Twinkies are they good?
I mean, they taste good.
Yeah,
They're
they're
good. If you look at those ingredients, you'd probably be like, I'm not going to eat those no
If we
more.
did a draft of like foods you regret to eat while you're eating them,
You think Twinkies?
I think
is up
Twinkies.
there?
I think you're eating. You're like, man, this is why am I?
You
doing
think
this?
so?
I mean, pizza's definitely up there, but
That's so good.
Sour
just-
Patch Kids. I get to like one of those big bags, and I get to the end. I'm like, man,
I'd say
that
Flamin'
just
Hots for me.
whammies. You're like, I didn't even realize I just put that whole bag down. I'm like, where's that going now?
You
I
feel
just
that
get
way with
sick.
Flamin' Hots?
me?
Yeah,
Nah, because I don't eat them enough.
yeah.
I treat myself. I'm actually pretty good about treating myself with that kind of garbage food. But
Discipline, Dave.
I'm trying to think what, like, all the food that makes me feel guilty that I actually consume is just like everyday food, like mozzarella sticks and shit like that. It's like,
Are you the one eating
Bar
the
food.
fucking sticks I keep putting in the fridge?
sticks?
Yeah, I keep putting mott sticks in the fridge.
From where?
Oh, I'm talking about the Sargento. I get Sargento
Oh,
string.
like string cheese?
string
Oh, I
cheese.
haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten one of those.
It's a good snack. I put a dozen in there every now and then. I notice a couple were missing. I'm looking at Tom.
I've gone to town on the fucking canisters of peanuts we got.
I think it would be funny if someone in this office actually got mad at someone else in this office for eating something in the fridge. Like if
Well,
someone
that's-
was walking around and was like, yo, what the fuck happened to my part of my cheesesteak leftovers?
I think it would be fucked if someone went after Harry's panini ingredients that he
Yeah,
keeps in
that's
there.
true.
I've asked
Yeah.
him one time.
And Harry would be like, yeah, go right ahead, bro.
He wouldn't
Yeah,
care at all.
He would.
Yeah.
Oh, how'd you like it?
Yeah. He is
Pretty
a golden
good, right?
retriever.
Yeah.
He's a fucking golden
Yeah.
retriever with
What
a
a
bigger
nice-
head.
Nice boy.
But
Yeah.
but I do feel
nice boy.
what it's like a dangerous game though too, because now that I don't know, it was a slow progression with this office where now we're like on the snack delivery list now, and
Yeah.
like nobody knows who runs it, or I think now Hannah does, and maybe Danny did before, but nobody knows what's on the list or what's ordered. And I remember Jeff T. Lowe was in for the dozen. He was here for like a week. And there was these like cheese and like cracker little things. It was like a Sargento little packs. Did you see those in the
No.
fridge? And I was eating them, and I saw him looking. I was like, "Wait, are these yours?" He's like, "Yeah." I was buying them from Target. I was like, "Oh, I just had no idea." I felt like a huge dick.
Yeah.
But like nobody knows what's who's what unless if it's
Yeah.
blatant leftovers.
Well, that's
right?
tough for somebody coming into the office not understanding that
Yes,
we have absolutely
exactly.
whatever like rules and regulations you guys observe in your office space about the fridge and the kitchen and like shared, like that's mine.
Yes.
Does not exist here.
So I felt like a dick.
It's like when Illinois played Charlotte last year, University of Charlotte, I believe, and a guy on Twitter DM'd me and was like, "Hey, I'll send you a nice bottle of bourbon if Illinois wins. If you agree to send me a nice bottle of Chicago or something if Charlotte wins." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude." So Illinois wins by a touchdown. He sends me a bottle, nice stuff, local, nice note. Hey, this is why it's like 2 bottles or whatever. Because I get it on a Friday, have a glass. I'm like, "Ooh, this is nice stuff." I put it in our nice little cabinet, and that was the same week I think Dave just annihilated it on a Sunday. It was like a Bears game or something. I came in on Monday and the bottle was all gone. And I was like, do I want to get mad about this?
But
That
see,
was
he
mine.
probably-
Absolutely not. Not for a second do I give drink all the booze you want, boys.
But it, like same
I don't
thing.
recall this.
Like if there was a case of Miller in there, people would just drink it. But
Yeah.
like, who knows? It could have been like Chiefs like leaving it there because he's gonna have a couple before a Cubs game. You know,
I think
Yeah, he's got buddies coming
Yes.
like, oh, we'll pregame here. He could show up, but I don't think
that's-
Chief has a leg to
just a
stand on if he's
free-for-all.
mad that Miller Lite's not in there, though, right?
I disagree with that.
If you went to Target on like a Friday afternoon and threw in a rack, just like, I'll go get a 24. And,
Yeah.
You'd have to say to the rest of the office if it's Miller Lite.
And I
that,
didn't
hey,
know. And you were like, I'm coming back Saturday, Cubs game. And then Mahoney comes over and he and I just put a dent in that case. And you showed up on Saturday morning with your buddies like, yeah, I got beer in the fridge. You get there and there's like, oh, there's only 6 beers here. Like, I don't know if
You'd
have
have
a
to
leg
preface
be
it
like,
with
I don't
I
think
think you just have to go right back to Target.
Yeah.
buy another
I
case
think
of beer.
I think you're right. The only time I've ever been annoyed with that is when we need them for ad reads and we don't have them.
yeah.
So that's and it's like, I got to go to Target to get beers that we're just using them for show for now.
Carl's drinking with the interns.
Yeah.
It's good to, it's, you know what? It's good to edit. I need that. I need this banter. I don't want the show to just be our
The message is we need more Miller Lite
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the office.
They've been better about
If
that.
anyone-
the word is that we might get our keg going, so that'd be nice.
that would
Yeah,
be nice.
That would be That would
All
be
Biz
nice.
Pete promised us that over a year and
He
a half
did. He
ago.
promised us 1 tap of cold brew, 1 of Miller Lite.
And
So
we have
we'll see.
our current tap count is at 0, Pete.
I think it still has the plastic
Yeah.
cellophane on it.
It does.
So you got the satisfying pull, right, Dave?
Yep.
If you could tap something that isn't tapped, what would you tap for the office?
Right now.
Yeah, if you could be like, I want just it's on tap. All
I would.
times.
Well,
Icelandic Glacier.
Glacial. But yes, I mean, yeah, no free ads, but that's the best water there is. I'm kind of annoyed with them. I've stopped retweeting people who like send me pictures of Icelandic Glacial. They sent me 1 case, and I feel like I've given them like a ton of love and impressions. Like more people know about them now because of that draft.
That's the
They're
worst.
in breach of a non-existent contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, or just do the right thing.
That's-
Send us some waters.
It's the worst thing when there's a product you genuinely like and you just kept
Yeah.
pushing them, but then they just won't.
I liked the product and I liked the narrative. You know, like I thought it was
Yes.
like a fun thing on the internet, but like the longer I went, the more I got annoyed with
I don't think they can send us water, so we have a water sponsor. Body Armor.
They're
Yeah.
officially a sponsor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they always have been.
Love body armor.
Yeah.
I
Me
thought that
too.
was like a wink and a nod kind of
No,
Portnoy and what's his face.
I think they are, but I don't know. There's our draft on Monday. I'm already pre-mad at Carl for taking something. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
This is too inside baseball.
This is
I
inside
apologize.
baseball, but you guys will. You guys should definitely tune into that. Subscribe to our YouTube page as well, and if we get to 50,000,
Quickly.
very quickly,
Dave will consider releasing the picture.
just
I'll
release
consider
a
it.
picture,
I'll consider.
Dave.
I'll consider.
The,
It's such a
White
boost.
Sox way to consider things.
I'll consider.
That's fucked up.
Dave's
Chief.
doing us a solid wait till we have like a lull in content, aren't you, Dave? Like,
Yeah,
we have
that's
a
what I'm
dead
doing.
week, and then we're gonna do the picture.
There you go.
Chess and checkers.
Only real note from Bears camp, in my opinion, that's worth it, is the Teven Jenkins shit.
What's going on with
Yeah.
Teven Jenkins?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think anybody knows besides that organization. Cap said that like there was dissension when the new management, they didn't like him. Rappaport said that he's been involved in trade talks. He's tweeting at people saying everything's fine. Don't believe what you read. Not great. But it's like it's very. It's
Blame McCaskey, Ed.
not
Finish
great.
it off.
It's not great.
Just not.
second rounder. But
I
it's,
had such high hopes for him because he was so
Yeah.
his highlight tape. He was so mean.
yeah.
Like
I don't see what they would gain by trading him to get like a fucking 5th rounder or 6th rounder. Or who knows what they would
value
get?
could he possibly?
I don't
like,
know. I don't know at all. That's why I don't understand why they wouldn't just keep on the roster, especially when you can give a slow progression. Because it looks like the line is going to be
Solid.
up the middle with Lucas Patrick, Schofield, and Whitehair, and then Rife and Borum at tackle. So it looks like you could even if there is like a health problem, you could ease him in or
Yeah.
do whatever you
Can
want.
be
There's
your swing tackle this year. Keep the reps low.
still locked down. Like there's
Yeah.
no reason to trade him. But so that's why it was very surprising. But at the same time,
We don't really know what's going on.
At the same time, I can't fault Poles if he does because it's very reminiscent to the fucking Ego Ferguson and the Will Sutton days of the Emery regime where pace came in and he just dumped all those guys. And it hurt to see second and third rounders get fucking thrown on the scrap heap because you can't really afford to do that in the NFL. But at the same time, you just got to go with whatever the new guy does. So we'll see.
That's always worked out.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool if Teven Jenkins fucked people up and then talked about fucking people up.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice, but he pulled the cart before the horse, and I think that kind of added to.
He still might. I don't know.
Sure, he might, but I do think it's fair to say that if Teven Jenkins got drafted and was not in the news for like this bad dude, if he was just like, yeah, I'm excited to go play football, then I think that we're probably less disappointed right now. Like it was part of, at least me and Chief, I remember we talked and we're like, we do like this. And you were like, we'll see.
But it was a perfect storm of like our O-line was so bad. We need someone in here. This guy's a high draft pick.
Right. And then, but
so that's why I think it hurts more.
Well, but that was always, this was the downside is that if he had a perfect clean bill of health, they said he's a top 20 pick. And there, like he was mock drafts when that was going on, had him in that range. And then maybe people just got scared off and the Bears thought it was worth a flyer. And who knows, maybe it still will be. But it's at this point, it's like Gabe Karimi 2.0. Like it's just
we're kind of battered by linemen too. The Karimis, the Chris Williams of the world,
Colombo,
Mark Colombos. Granted, we've had some good hits with you got to consider Whitehair a success
big time
at this point. Kyle Long was a success, but at the same time, there does feel like we are a little battered in that sense, where offensive line has been a week's drafting point for Bears historically with quarterbacks. So
to recap, today's show with the things that Bears have battered us with: coaching changes, quarterbacks, ownership, linemen. Anything else?
Stadium.
Yeah.
Concessions.
Concessions are Rule 6. So it's a lot of we're
got
battered.
RC Cola. I appreciate RC Cola.
Yeah, RC's good.
Yeah, but
is it
besides
Stadium
that,
good? Is RC Stadium good though?
It's so unique though. I don't know. They have Miller Lite though. I appreciate that, and that's genuine.
Did you see McCaskey on the scooter? Did you see that little clip of him like riding around?
Yeah,
like, for it was.
I've seen him walking around the stadium at games before.
Go Bears!
He's wearing like a Sports Illustrated. Subscribe now, get your first month free, and we'll throw in this commemorative jacket of your team of choosing.
Lanyard.
And he's still wearing it. Good for you, George. Good show, guys. Sorry, everything sucks. Maybe one of these days.
Not our fault.
Yeah. This isn't how you draw it up. All gas.
No breaks.
DJ, play that shit.